Guys, it's Johnny and welcome to episode 65 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm here today with Len from New Hampshire. Welcome. How
Thank
you doing?
you. It's actually kind of funny to be on the podcast that I've listened to before, and now I'm here as a guest.
Yeah? Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, when I first started getting interested in dropshipping, and I found Dropship Lifestyle, and your name was popping up, and I found Travel Like a Boss, and there's some episodes in there that I listened to that were primarily the ones that were specifically related to dropshipping.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of funny to actually be on the show now.
And when you were listening to this, were you still working as an airline pilot?
No, I was not. I was actually had already left, quit my job, and was doing some traveling and was just learning about dropshipping. And so no, this is only about 6 months ago that I started.
So tell me kind of like briefly about your journey, because so the first time I talked to you was online on Anton's forums, where you had a thread, a progress thread called, what was it?
Airline captain to dropshipper.
Okay, so tell me about that.
All right, so a brief background. I won't make it too long, but when I was a kid, I always wanted to go into space, and that materialized in a way that when I had my first small airplane ride, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. That's close enough. So I went to college for aviation. I wanted to be an airline pilot. I wanted to fly a jet. I wanted to be an airline captain. At the end of the day, I did all that, and I worked for the airlines for 8 years. And just before I quit, I had been a captain for almost 2 years, flying jets domestically in the United States. But kind of going back to college, it was something that I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to. I knew I didn't want to do that occupation for nearly 40 or 45 years till I retired.
But why is that? Do they get paid pretty well, or is it stress? Or?
There's low pay, and the lifestyle is stressful. As you evolve, things do get better. But so I don't know if it's ADD, but if you look at life and the opportunities that you want to pursue, when you're focused in, say, for instance, if I was going to do that airline job, it wouldn't afford me necessarily the time and freedom to do other pursuits in my life. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to achieve this goal. Okay. And really the goal was, on top of becoming an airline captain, was to pay off my college debt. Okay.
And when you say captain, so you were the pilot.
I'm the dude, man. Okay. I'm in the left. I'm making the decisions. I'm the guy.
And this is for what airline was it?
It was for United Express.
Okay.
In the United States. So it was domestic only.
Okay. And so where would you fly?
All over the United States. Southern Canada, from say Winnipeg all the way up to Halifax, and then all over Mexico. So it's like North America.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like how you say just in the States, domestic only, a little bit of Canada, a little bit of Mexico.
That's because it's not technically qualified as international if we don't go across an ocean, but North American stuff. Okay, solely in North America.
So I would imagine to most people listening, being the pilot of a United Airlines flight is the dream job, is everything coming true. So why the heck would you quit that to pursue a dropshipping store?
And for a lot of people it is, and like I said, for me it also was, but I knew that once I achieved that goal, that there were always going to be new goals. And in fact, you're familiar with this, planning goals, there is something next. There's the next achievement. During my first couple of years as an airline pilot, I call it the blessing and the curse, and that was reading the 4 Hour Workweek, which so many people have done. And they know, it opened your mind. And after that, I started reading a bunch more books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so my time at the airlines ended up essentially giving myself an MBA in finance and educating myself about online business and that kind of stuff, just reading a ridiculous amount of books.
Were you reading this while piloting the plane?
No, but I was reading them at the hotel, between flights and stuff, and whatnot. So it inspired me. It's like, you know what? What it did was it gave me the goal for the next thing, which was after the airlines, and that was to find something. It's not necessarily that I want to sit on a beach with a laptop, but what I wanted was the freedom and the finances to travel long term. And so dabbled with a few things online. I did some niche blogging and some niche podcasting, worked with some people with their Google advertising and did made some video commercials for some local commerce retail stores in my state. And nothing was like terribly exciting. I was like just kind of doing something for somebody else, but I enjoyed the pursuit and what I learned from it. And then I did quit the job, the airlines. And on April 15th of last year, which is 2014, we left the United States. Quit the job, sold the cars, gave away everything, put a bunch of money in the bank account, loaded up the backpack and said, see you later, and off we went into the world. And the first goal, it's kind of funny because Larissa just worked on her teaching English guide.
Yep.
That was something that we thought we would do. So we were in Bali last year, Indonesia, and we were taking this class online to do the TEFL, the teaching certification. I just wasn't enjoying it, and I gave it a couple of weeks, and it was just making me really unhappy, and I realized, okay, so I thought this would be one way I would make a little bit of income and sustain my living life on the road. And then I was like, you know what? I just got to go back to my roots, my core desires, and let my entrepreneurial spirit out of the box. And, I had, when we were hiking, I had read another book. That's I call it complimentary to the 4 Hour Workweek, a book called Never Work Again by, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I think it's Erlen Backy or something like that. And in there he talks about, he had a couple of different models of online businesses and some blueprints. One of them happened to be dropshipping. And the term dropshipping just kind of kept reappearing over a course of a couple of weeks. I was like, all right, I got to check this out. So I did the research. Eventually, long story short, ended up, signing up for Dropship Lifestyle, and just haven't looked back from there.
I like it. All right, very cool. And so, what made you come out to Chiang Mai?
As part of the English teaching gig that I gave up, my girlfriend did finish. She found a job not far from Chiang Mai, about 25 kilometers south of Chiang Mai. So she was volunteering at a school down there, teaching English Monday through Friday. And so I used that as my opportunity to be here in Chiang Mai, living cheap, and putting FaceTime in, putting the hours into the store. And we've talked about it offline. I know I mentioned it. I actually put it in the forums today, but we arrived in Chiang Mai on November 1st, 2014. And my goal was, I'm in Chiang Mai. I'm there for like 4 to 6 months. I don't know when we're leaving, but I'm here. There's a lot of DSL guys here. I'm going to build this first website. I'm going to make this first sale. And it's ironic because you and I are recording this on February 25th. Tomorrow, February 26th, I leave Thailand. And I'm like, are you serious? Down to the last wire?
But I think there's a quote out there saying that people will always do things in the amount of time they're given, regardless of what amount of time that is. So if you gave yourself until February 26th, and you're going to take that entire time to make that first sale. And that's why I set shorter goals.
I didn't realize it was going to take me that long. There's a few things I got carried away with in the store. And then there's a few things that I said, okay, this is important. And at the same time, there were items, we were talking yesterday, I did spend a lot of time on this first store. There's some things I let myself get carried away with because I was still learning new things. But, your statement yesterday, it's like I put it a front and center on my computer, minimum viable product. And I have to be reminded of that. Because I'll be honest, at one point I just tweaked a whole lot of stuff. It wasn't stuff that shouldn't be done. Like for instance, Brendan's speech from the retreat, where you want to add buy and online and different things. Well, instead of I had already had 100 products uploaded. I'm like, I'm not editing 100 products. Screw that. So I went in and I hacked my theme and instead, put something in there so that it would populate everything automatically. So those kinds of things. I let myself get away with to tweak, honestly, to save me time because I don't want to edit 100 products. But yeah, it has taken me a lot longer than I wanted to do.
So in retrospect, actually, to just catch everyone up. So what did we do yesterday and what changed?
Okay, so yesterday Johnny and I met here in person in Chiang Mai. I had my Google advertising and my Amazon advertising had been live and running for about 7 or 8 days. my traffic went from like 4 visitors a day to literally one day it had like 170 visitors the next day. So I had a surge in traffic. I had roughly 680 visitors in a 7-day period and not one single conversion. So I'm looking at that going, okay, this is not a traffic issue. There's got to be something else going on. And one of my concerns behind that was the fact that while I'm sure like penny clicks and 10-cent clicks and cheap clicks exist, my stuff was costing me almost $1 a click.
Wow, okay.
You know, so for each visitor that I got was costing me a sizable fortune. You know?
Pretty penny.
Yeah, I've spent like $300 in AdWords in the last week.
Okay.
I've since refined some stuff and found ways to, you know, this is one thing, a quick segue. Remember that when we do these websites, it's just a test. We're testing. We're not assured of anything. You're going to spend money on advertising. It might not work out, but what we're doing is collecting data to analyze, to refine. So I was like, screw it. $300, fine. If that's what it takes to see my users' behavior and figure out what's wrong, then we'll do that. And I'm glad I did, because when we met yesterday and you looked at the website and you looked at the traffic, you said the same thing. There's no reason you shouldn't have made any sales here based on your traffic. So you looked at the website, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say there's anything major. It was kind of simple tweaks that needed to be changed, but I think I got about 3/4 of them done.
Okay. So what do you think that were the top 3 things that you changed?
The top 3 things was definitely changing the logo.
Okay.
And adding some features to the logo that you told me.
Yeah. So I basically just told Len, I was like, your logo looks nice, but it needs something else on it. You know, it needs. So Anton in the course, he talks about making it your store actually look like an e-commerce store.
Right.
So when people are there, they know, hey, if you're here, buy something. So, you know, I had Len incorporate some of the call to actions in the logo, some icons, like even as simple as like the Visa, MasterCard logos in the header. So right when people go, they know, okay, you know, this is a place that accepts credit card. They are a store. They're not just here to give me information. You know, we're not just here to waste time. We're here to buy something. I also had you put the phone number in the header,
right,
just to make it really easy. So no matter where someone is on your site, if they know if they need to, they can call you. But I'm almost willing to bet that even though you put the phone number in the header, people still didn't call. They just knew that they could.
Yeah. In fact, the one order I had was was online. There was no phone support involved. Now I had the phone number like in the top navigation bar, but it had no call to action. So what I did yesterday after meeting with you is I added to my logo. I took the text from the hello bar, which you suggested, and I put that also in there, so it says free shipping ends Wednesday. And then I said, I actually went through a few iterations of this. I was like, I had call today in the phone number. And I was like, no, let's put call now in the phone number. And I'm like, oh, hell, I don't want a phone call. I want you to just order online. I don't want to, like, not that I don't want to talk to you, but if you're just going to order without me. So then I changed it to order now, which I was like, brilliant, you know. It tells me about the shipping, tells me order now, and then there's a phone number. Because I felt like, you know, call today or call now, and then the phone number was persuading somebody to actually have to make that phone call. I was like, we're there to help, but I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that dependent on answering the phone to get that sale.
So right now that you're just starting out making sales, who's actually taking your calls? Are you just having them go to voicemail?
They're going to voicemail at this point, and I mean I've had no calls, so clearly it's not been a problem. So right now they would just go to voicemail, and then I would return it during U.S. business hours because obviously I'm here in Thailand. One benefit is we're going to New Zealand tomorrow, and they're another 6 hours, so like 18 hours ahead of the U.S. So when I wake up for breakfast in New Zealand, it'll be right around lunchtime in the United States.
Okay, that's perfect.
And so actually, yeah, I'm almost like, it works better to be in New Zealand to do a little bit of this e-commerce.
I think the only good thing about being in Thailand is it forces me not to take my own calls because the time zone difference is so crazy that I can basically stay up late and make one call before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I can wake up super early and make one call when I wake up. But aside from that, I have to outsource it, and then that's good because it doesn't. So it makes me not tempted to do it myself.
Yeah, and I'm fully on board with automation and outsourcing, And the thing that I agree with starting a new website or a new business of any kind, everybody, I don't know, maybe not everybody, plenty of people say you have to experience the work before you can teach somebody how to do it. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the answering the phone calls and the emails. And as I mentioned, up until the order today, I haven't had any inquiries, especially since the ads have only been running for a week now.
So why would that have the ads only been running for a week?
So here's what happened. When I want to say about 3 weeks ago, I actually started the paid ads. And at that point, I had 40 products that were live on the website, and I had another 60 to 80 that were hidden because I was playing email tag with one of my suppliers who was on the road a lot, actually going to my niche, like their industry group events, like CES, which is not my niche, but going to Las Vegas for Consumer Electronics Show. So he's been on the road almost since Thanksgiving until now, every week having to go to a different event. So we've been, playing email tag, and I had those hidden. So when I had the ads go on with 40 products, I felt it wasn't enough. Okay. And I asked Anton about it, and he's like, "Yeah, you need to add more products immediately." I'm like, I know, but at the same time, I don't just want to let the ad spend go through the roof while I'm waiting to process through all this. So I paused them. When I paused the ad, something happened at Google headquarters, and they started calling me and emailing me, and they're like, "Why'd you turn your ads off? Yeah. What are you doing? What's going on? What's wrong? How can we help you?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'll tell you how you can help me. I don't know what the hell I'm doing." So,
well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is how supportive Google customer service is when you're paying them for ads.
Oh, absolutely. It's their incentive to help you.
I think if you wanted to call them for any other reason, there's no phone number.
No.
But if you're paying them for advertising, especially for an e-commerce store, they will bend over backwards to help you.
It's true.
And so a lot of people are afraid. They're like, I'm not savvy. I've never set up ads before. If you're willing to spend, stay on the phone with someone from Google for an hour, they're willing to stay on the phone with you. So I think for beginners, that's kind of a nice thing to know.
Yeah.
But I would say so when I looked at your site yesterday and I looked at your traffic, and aside from the small conversion tweaks, the optimization tweaks, right away I knew, I was like, the reason why it took you this long to make a sale is because you put in too much effort in the 20% of things that it's not that they don't matter, but they matter in the long run, or they matter in the kind of big picture, versus if you spent your time in just the minimum viable product, that 80% that really, really matters, I knew that you would have had a sale by then. So I think in retrospect, what I would have suggested you have done is when you had just those 40 products, I would have said, you know what, I have 40 products, as long as these are things that people are buying somewhere online, why not buy some of those from me?
Yeah.
I might not get one sale a day, but I might get, there's no reason why I can't get a sale a week, even though I only have 40 products.
Sure.
So I would have focused on that. And the other reason why I like having less products in the beginning is then you can really keep an eye on it. You can be like, okay, so out of these 40, why, when people are visiting, and why aren't people buying? Versus now, how many products do you have live?
Like 190.
And that makes it really hard to look through and have, and have your eyes on all of them. So what I actually do for all my stores is I manually add my products, and I do them one by one. And every product that I add, assuming that it's something that people buy somewhere, and sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. Sometimes you can actually just ask your supplier. You can say, "Oh, how well do these sell?" And just pause and just let them answer it. They'll be honest with you. Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh yeah, these don't really sell very well. Maybe once a month." Don't even add that product, or if you do, put it on the back burner. Feel free to ask your supplier, say what items are you selling the most of? How many do you sell per week? And they'll tell you. And if there's an item that they're like, yeah, we sell 10 of these a day, very easily, one of those sales can be from you. If not 3 or 4. We're never gonna destroy Amazon. They're just too big. Big sites like Overstock or Wayfarer. They're big and established. They have their big customer bases. But they don't have 100% of the market. You know, even if they have 70 or 80% of the market, there's still enough sales that can come to us. So what I would have done is I would have focused on just the core 40 products and say, you know, how can I start selling these instead of waiting until you had, you know, 100 products, even though that is the end goal. So for anyone listening to this and you know, just starting out your stores, I highly suggest that, you know, I would say anything less than maybe 30 or 40, then it's kind of hard, you know? Then you're like, well, there's not, you know, maybe there's not even a product out of these 30 that people are buying once a week or, you know, or every day. But if you have at least 30 or 40 products, it's pretty likely that these are selling somewhere every day. So why not at least one from you? So I would say, yeah, definitely that would have been my suggestion.
Well, the one thing, one of the reasons I am happy that it did take me the extra week was the fact that speaking with Google, we did a few things that they're not advanced as far as a skill is involved, but just beyond the PLA, they asked me, do you want to have stuff in the display network and do you want to do remarketing? And I said, okay. I knew what display network was, but I wanted to learn a little bit more about remarketing, and that's to be honest, that was like those two little additions to the Google stuff were a huge addition to my traffic. So I might have been behind like 2 weeks about what I normally would have done. But it made a huge difference in the traffic for sure. So
let's talk about what exactly is display network and then what is retargeting.
Sure. So a lot of people go to websites, go to blogs, they see an advertisement. That's called, if you're the blog owner, that's called Google AdSense. You can place code on your website that displays relevant ads to your website viewers. And if they click on that ad, you, the website owner, get essentially a commission for referring that person through that ad. The other side of it is Google AdSense. As the advertiser, you can choose that your advertisement be included on another person's AdSense. That's the display network. Okay. So the display network puts your advertisement in somebody else's AdSense block on their website, and of course it's targeted. You know, for the keywords and stuff, you're not going to show bottled water on diaper website or something like that. And then remarketing, essentially, and I'm new to remarketing, you know a little bit more, but the breakdown is it's a cookie. Somebody clicks on your ad, a cookie goes in their browser. If they don't buy or they don't convert or they don't have a certain behavior recorded by Google, when they open their browser tomorrow and they go to another website, that cookie will say, hey, Johnny's blog has a advertisement on it. Let's put Len's advertisement in there because they haven't converted yet. So that's a basic description.
So I don't use display ads. I do believe that it is another channel, and I think for certain products it might do very, very well. So I think it's something that I think people should definitely test. But the reason why I suggest that when people start, just do the bare minimum possible. And I always tell people just use Google product listing ads, so the PLAs in the beginning, is the chances of from your first sale, it's 90% it's going to come from a Google ad. Later on, you don't want to be 100% reliant on just one stream of traffic. So now I have Amazon ads, I have retargeting, I have I have sources from everywhere. I have organic traffic, I have Bing traffic, I have all these different sources. But in the beginning, even for Larissa's new store, we said, let's just focus on what I know works, what's gonna have the biggest chance of making that first sale, and let's go for that first. So even until this day, I don't use display networks just because I haven't even gotten around testing it. So I do think it's viable, but it's definitely not something I would recommend people spending time on in the beginning.
Yeah, it's probably unnecessary, and the data I've collected, we'll see, probably over the first month. But interestingly enough, I am getting a lot more traffic from display network than PLAs. And at first it was the other way around. And over a course of 7 days, it's sort of reversed. So I still have some data to sort through. But
and definitely keep an eye on that and make sure you set up the conversion tracking. So then you let it run for a month and then see, if it makes financial sense, where you want to spend your advertising dollars.
Right.
So as far as retargeting, I do use retargeting from my main store. I use something called Perfect Audience, which is basically a company that sets up your retargeting ads for you, just so you don't have to spend the time to do it yourself. So what retargeting is, in a nutshell, is basically if you come to one of my e-commerce stores to look at a product. So let's say this Blue Yeti microphone that we're using. The next time you go on Facebook, you're going to see an ad pop up either in your sidebar or even newsfeed saying, "Would you like free shipping on a Blue Yeti microphone? Click here," and that'll bring you back to my site. And the reason why I use it is just to gently remind customers who have already been to my site that there's free shipping on this microphone, this week, or it expires on, whatever day. And that works pretty well. I always make more money back through sales than I do on the retargeting ads. But the other reason why I don't focus on the right away is until you're getting about... So I think with Perfect Audience, they actually force it. So you need to have, I think it's 1,000 visitors before they will even let you sign up for an account, because they know they have to spend time to set up your feed, and it's not worth their time if you're not getting enough visitors, because you're not going to be, because they charge such a small amount that it's just not worth it. So on the flip side, I also don't recommend people who are just starting out with their stores to spend time setting up retargeting, because if it's not worth someone else's time that you're paying, it's definitely not worth your own time either. So for Larissa's store, we still actually don't have retargeting set up. Even though now it's been up and running for almost 2 months and we're making sales, but you actually just reminded me I do need to set it up.
Yeah.
So I do think these are great things, but just kind of getting back to the 80-20 rule, where just focus on the things that will make you money right away.
Right away, yeah. Google did all that stuff for me, so all I had to do was log in one night and click take it off the pause and essentially make it live. So I didn't spend any of my own effort on that, but it'll be interesting to see how the data plays out as to whether or not what's worth it. But I'd be curious later on to see what your success has been with Bing, because they seem to be a highly underutilized resource for advertising, and as far as I can tell, I don't know about significantly cheaper, but way less than Google. Yeah,
they're definitely cheaper. You'll get less overall clicks and sales through Bing, just because not that many people use it. But the people that do use Bing usually are not super web savvy, so they are, I would say they're kind of usually easier customers, if that makes any sense. They're not the ones that will go out and read 1,000 reviews and compare prices on a million places. They'll just kind of look for the product they want, and then they'll just buy it. The reason why it took me so long to set up Bing is just because it's not an easy process. It's kind of just a pain in the butt. So it is one of those things I do suggest everyone does set up, but just go with Google first, because
that's enough.
So where did your first sale come from? I'm almost willing to bet it came from a Google ad.
I would have to look while we talk and double check. I looked at the order, but I don't have off the top of my mind where it did come from.
This is going to be an on-air
confessions. With Johnny and Lynn.
Because the thing is, so even like a lot of times I'll get a sale from an unknown source, and I always just like unless it's a very clear source where I know it came from a Facebook ad, or it came from someone's email. A lot of times I'll just assume, I'm like, I bet you they saw it through some kind of Google ad. They went to a different computer, they typed it in, or they emailed it themselves, or something like that. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The mobile app for Shopify is only giving me the order info, but not where it came from.
I'm gonna pull mine up as well, and then I'm gonna see if I can locate it somewhere.
To be determined.
So, tell me about waking up to your first sale.
So we left yesterday after talking about the optimizations, and I went home. Gosh, I don't know, from about 2 p.m. until midnight, and just pounded out what I could pound out in the course of 10 hours. And I organized it from what I felt was most important to least important. Specifically, the logo was the most important. Some of the call to action was the most important. So, midnight, I closed the lid of the laptop and I crawled into bed, and I was like, all right, I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to open my email, I'm going to have that first sale, and, the dream will have been fulfilled. So, 7:30 this morning, I wake up, I get out of bed, I go and grab my iPhone, and I check my email. No sales, no orders. Whatever, life's not perfect. So, I make myself a cup of coffee, I sit down in front of the laptop, and I start logging into Shopify so that I could look through, the Lucky Orange. I use Lucky Orange right now for heat maps and screen recordings. And so, not unlike Larissa, I've been looking at my screen recordings on a daily basis to see what's been happening with the, especially when I didn't have any conversions. So I'm sitting there in front of the laptop looking at Lucky Orange recordings, and my phone goes bring, and I've got this alert, and I look and it says, you have a sale. And I look at it and I'm like, I didn't believe it at first. I'm looking at it going, yeah, wait, I have a sale. Okay. So I put my phone down and I went to Shopify and I clicked on the order tab and I was like, holy crap, I really have a sale. So I take my iPhone and I run into the bedroom, and my girlfriend's asleep. I was like, hey. And I got my phone in my hand and I'm shaking it, and she's like, what? I was like, I did it. I made a sale. So, it's funny because I mentioned I wanted to come here. I wanted to build my first site. I wanted to make a sale before I left Chiang Mai. I talked about that. I'm leaving Chiang Mai tomorrow. But I'm sitting in front of the computer when it happened. I'm like, okay, you win, but this is cool. I'm still all morning, I'm like, I couldn't focus on anything. I was so excited.
Really cool. I can't believe you woke up your girlfriend to tell you.
Heck yeah. She's like, that's awesome. And then she went back to sleep. And then she woke up later and she's like, whoa, yeah. She's like, let's go out, let's go to breakfast and celebrate. I was like, that's nice. Hell yeah, let's do that. I
think that's really cool, especially because I think it's really nice that your girlfriend understands how much it means to you. Mm-hmm. I would say a lot of people, their friends or partners in life, they don't quite grasp the concept. Mm-hmm. I think so. When we were in South Africa visiting Larissa's family over the holidays, we got the first sale while we were at her. I think we were at her auntie's house. We were staying there in Cape Town, and she was so excited. She's jumping down. She grabbed her dad, and she basically just wanted to shake her dad, and be like, Dad, I made my first sale. And he, obviously congratulated her, but I don't think he knew what it actually meant. I think he was just like, oh, that's nice, and it wasn't until it was consistent, and then I think she had talked to him a few weeks or a month later, and she's like, yeah, she's like, I made enough this month to cover my old teaching salary. And I think that's when it really hit him, and he was like, well, really, it's it's enough to actually cover what you used to make working full time. And so I think for everyone, it's nice to have someone in your life that understands it. Yeah. But not everyone will understand it.
No, that's one thing I praise her. She's always been my cheerleader. She understands it. I don't know if she's interested enough to do it herself. Some days she is, some days she's not. She obviously sees how much time I put into it, and I think maybe that's a little scary. I don't say scary, but a little off-putting. Like, man, he's busting his ass. Do I really want to do that? But it's not unlike anything else. You have to put the hours in to build something, to then let it start to grow by itself. So, it's that whole sweat equity thing. And I'm totally cool with that.
I think what's kind of funny is, so when Larissa used to work full-time, she would only see me after work. So she never actually saw me, while I was at Punt Space. And now that she works there as well, and she was sitting next to me for the first couple of months. We've stopped that now. We're at different tables now. One day she was like, I cannot believe how much freaking time you spend on Facebook and on the forums and just watching YouTube videos. She's like, this whole time I thought when you were at Pudspace you were working. And, I think it is true where in the beginning, you have to put in the sweat equity. I worked. I think I put in 8-hour days the first 2 months, and now I probably spend the first hour, sometimes the first 2 hours of the day working on my stores, and the rest of it just doing other things. And for me, I enjoy doing other things. And I like other streams of income as well. So I'm working on other businesses. A lot of times I'm just learning. I'm just keeping in touch with old friends. Planning a trip. Things like that. But in her mind, she was in the beginning. It was very funny how what reality was.
Yeah. So she's been there, always cheering me on, which has been really helpful. It's nice to, to be honest, I'm strong-headed and stubborn enough where if she didn't cheer me on, it wouldn't be, really wouldn't affect me, because I'm clear-cut in this goal and this dream of financial freedom and a lifestyle that I'm looking for, that I'm happy that we're together and we travel and we spend time together. But even if you didn't support that and it didn't interest you, I would still do this. But it is definitely nice having somebody, wave the pom-poms and scream with you and be like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's celebrate and go to breakfast this morning. Yeah, I was like, yeah, screw it. Let's go.
Yeah,
why not? Why wait till tonight? Just let's go now.
What'd you have for breakfast?
We went to Smoothie Blues. I just had a blueberry muffin and a young coconut.
That's a pretty nice breakfast. I like that.
It's not bad.
So how much was the sale for?
The sale was $747. Okay. Wholesale is $375.
Okay.
Shipping, I don't have a firm answer, but I'll tell you this. The product only needs to go like an hour or two from New Jersey to New York City. Okay. It is a heavier item, but I'd be surprised if shipping costs more than $100, to be truthful. Okay. So I'm betting...
But let's say it's $200 just in case.
Yeah, it's still $150 profit.
Okay.
If it's $200 shipping, it's $150 profit. After credit card fees, shipping, and wholesale, yeah. So
to a lot of people, they might be thinking, why are you so excited about making $150 when I'm sure you used to make a lot more than that as an airline captain?
Yeah, well, to be honest, that one sale is like your first sale. You've been there. A lot of people have been there. The effect to me was like the winning lottery ticket. Like the item, the pursuit that you've been working on for so long has finally materialized into something which is as simple as your first sale. But it's the validation that what you're doing is not a bunch of BS, and that yes, you can make this business work for you, and that one sale shows you that you're on a path that's working for you, and it opens up the possibilities to what you do next. So it's like, when I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this morning, I said, I'm focused on my first sale. After that, it's my second sale. After the second sale, it's one a week. After one a week, it's two a week, and then it's one a day, and then a two a day. And I have all this written out. Good. About Very my good. Goals that I want to achieve. And then, it's like, geez, once you get to one a day and then two a day, then, okay, I think right around the one a day or two a day, I have, okay, like somewhere in between there, probably happen a little sooner. Start outsourcing some of the email and the phone call. Once you get that established, then start a new store. You know what I'm saying? So like I have this whole plan of the roadmap that I'm comfortable with, or that I wish to follow. So
I think it's very cool that you write down your goals. I did the same. I wrote down in just a journal, that by July 11th, which is my birthday, I think it was 2013 was, I said by that date I wanted to make $1,000 a month through my dropshipping store. And at the time that was going to be a big goal, because being able to live in Thailand, and basically do whatever you want in Chiang Mai, at least, because Chiang Mai is probably the cheapest place in Thailand to live. $1,000 a month is more than enough.
More than adequate.
Yeah.
I've been here living off of savings, and I think with rent, food, everything, I haven't spent more than $900 a month.
Yeah.
And I live in a nicer place than the average $150 single room. So
yeah, that's great. And then, and I think when I hit that, I was like, that's nice. Let me hit the next goal. And so if you actually sat down and did the math, if you make a sale a day, which is, there's really no reason why you can't. Like once the business is up and running, it doesn't really take you any more effort to make one sale a week or one sale a day.
True.
As long as your traffic's there, you've now optimized your site. I really would not be surprised if you started making a sale a day pretty consistently. Maybe the first couple of weeks a month, it might be a little bit more sporadic, but there's really no reason why you can't start making a sale a day within a month. Doing the math on that, assuming that the shipping is going to be, a lot because it's a heavy item, and sometimes it's going to be shipped to California, sometimes it's going to be shipped to Florida.
Right.
$150 profit per order in a month is $4,500, which is probably the equivalent to someone making $60,000 a year in the U.S. And that's on one store, and that's being able to be location independent. Right. Being able to live somewhere super cheap like this. It's going to be a lot more expensive living when you're traveling through New Zealand, a lot more. But in general, I mean that people, that is. It's a big accomplishment for people. And what you were saying about being able to scale it up and starting and have another store, that's $9,000 a month, which is over $100K a year, which is the six-figure range that people want to be in.
Yeah, I have this big, hairy, audacious goal. I know what I used to make as an airline pilot, an airline captain, as a yearly salary. The goals I have written out, talking about the one sale to a second sale to, working my up to one a day, is to eventually, by scaling this, is make my previous airline salary every month.
Every month?
Every month. That's what I want.
What is the yearly salary?
That yearly salary was $84,000. So first I want to gross $84,000 in profit a month, and then I want to net $84,000 in profit a month.
Okay, so you want $84,000 in sales or in your pocket money?
No, yes, in my pocket money. Yes, that's the if it's 5 websites or 10 websites, but yeah, I want to have all streams of income that I'm doing to equate to my previous yearly income on a monthly basis.
I like that. That's a big goal.
$1,008,000 a year. That's what that comes out to be.
You know what? I like it.
it's
a big goal, but you know what? There's really no reason why. Here's the thing is, so let's say you were working your airline job, and you said, I would like to make 12 times as much, next year. Your boss, and you asked your boss, say, hey, I would like a 12,000% increase. He would look at you like, are you insane? It's just not feasible. It's not possible. Why would he pay you 12 times as much? I mean, why would he pay you a year's salary every month to fly a plane when other people are willing to do it for even less than what you were probably getting paid? But with online business, it's one of those weird things where time almost doesn't matter because you can scale things, you can outsource things. And, I'm sure, this big goal that you have is going to involve more people than just you. It
is for sure. And I have no problem with that. Even, I don't know, maybe it'll be 3 virtual assistants or 5 virtual assistants. But as you know, with your experience, once things are set up and polished and kind of refined and doing their own thing after, the initial growing pains, there's not, honestly, like you said, how many hours a day do you spend? An hour, maybe reviewing orders or emails, and now you have a virtual assistant. So once, you dig the hole, you plant the seed, you water the hell out of it, it starts to grow, and then you're like, I'm planting another tree, so that's why I'm confident that this goal, I don't know if it's definitely not going to be, in 1 year, but it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, but it's not too far away, I could easily be living off of this income in the next maybe 2 to 4 months. easily?
I would say like a very realistic goal would be, within 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to live. You'll be able to pay off your monthly expenses. You'll be like, I can still travel, I can still enjoy myself. Whatever money I'm making through this new online business, I don't have to dip into savings anymore.
Right.
I can pay for all my travels, and then assuming that you keep working on the business, keep scaling up. There's no reason why in, let's say, 3 to 6 months you can't not only pay off all your travels and your daily living, but you can also have a lot of money saved up. From that point on, scaling it to 12x, that's going to take a lot of work. So you're going to have to be ready for that. But it sounds like you're dedicated.
Dude, I'm ready. I've been up till 3 o'clock in the morning calling suppliers, talking to Google. Last week I'm on the phone with Google. And I was like, all right, it's 2:30 in the morning where I am. She's like, oh, you better go to bed. I was like, I think we're done here.
So do you think, at any point, did you ever start doubting yourself or your niche or the method?
Myself, no. The course, no. The method, no. The niche has always been up and down for me because when I first started and I followed what Anton instructed about looking for competitors to compile your master list, right? I ended up at a lot of, the Hey Needle, Wayfarer and all that stuff. So I get all these suppliers. I'm talking like 60 or 80 suppliers. I was like, jackpot. This like totally exceeds what you need. So I start going to find every supplier's website and contact information. And I don't know, still to this day I'm not sure what happened, but that 60 or 80 ended up being 14 that actually sold the product. What it took me a few weeks to realize is, for instance, when I was on Hey Needle or Wayfarer, they still had the supplier name under their brands category. And I never noticed that it had a little 0 next to it.
Oh, I see.
So they no longer sold that product or that manufacturer, but they just didn't take down the brand. So, from, I think it was like 60 or 80, down to 14, I was like, oh, I'm so screwed, I got completely deflated.
I wonder why they keep that on there.
I don't know.
Do you think it's actually for like SEO purposes, where someone's searching for that?
Could be.
Someone's searching for that brand and that product.
It could be.
They'll go to the site, no longer be there, and they'll be like, "Well, I'm here. Let's see what alternatives there are."
Right. Yeah. So that parlays into making the phone calls. So Anton talks about you want about 20 suppliers. Start making phone calls. Well, I can't find 20 suppliers. I have 14. I start calling them. The first night I'm at Pun Space making phone calls. This was till like 3 o'clock in the morning. I got an approval over the phone, like in one of my first couple of phone calls. I ended up having about 3 suppliers starting out of the gate after about a week or so. And so I started adding the products, and because it's been so slow and it's been so difficult finding suppliers because of the perhaps the error that I made not noticing that Wayfarer doesn't sell this anymore, but it's just a link. I did start to wonder, what am I doing? Is this the wrong thing? And because I had niched down so far, I found things that were related. And you commented this on yesterday, and I took it and I accepted it, and at the same time I said, I'm not going to worry about it. But you mentioned, you have your core products and you have a few other things. The other things are related. Yeah. And they're all in the same family of items. But the way I went from 14 suppliers was to niche up a notch and add a couple of things that were in that category of niche instead of just that, blue water bottle. Well, and I kind of went to water bottles, plastic water bottles, glass water bottles. But that was honestly the only way I could get more suppliers. Once I did that, I was like, okay, it's looking more feasible. And in fact, the sale that I did get this morning wasn't even my core niche product. It was one of the secondary ones that I had added to have more suppliers and fit that criteria. So that's been my struggle. Am I just wasting time with this? Should I start another one? And I've gone back and forth just because of the struggles I've had with that. Anton said, you should be okay. And so I just kept, I was like, screw it. I'm not wasting anything. I mean, other than, not to say my time's not precious, but I'm still learning something. I'm learning Shopify, I'm learning dropshipping, I'm learning all these things. If this site is a flop, when I start my next one tomorrow, what took 2 months is going to take 2 days. Yeah. So I don't care. You know, to me, it was an education.
Learning experience.
It was a free education.
And I think because you have such big goals and you have so much confidence in that you're going to stick to it, I think for you personally, it wasn't a waste, it was fine.
Yeah.
I think for other people who are like, you know what, I only have 2 or 3 months to give this a shot. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back to working my job. Or, people that that don't have as much confidence, in themselves or the business. I think for them, it's very, very important for them to just do what has the highest chance of success, and saying, you know what, let me focus my efforts there. Let me get a sale. Let me start making some money, and then I can be like, then I can learn other things. And that's why I think the example I gave you yesterday was, if you own a KFC, focus on the chicken first. It doesn't mean that you can't add pizza later or salads or wraps later, but focus on the chicken. If you can do that well, then add stuff, but don't focus on all the other stuff first.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to say something that's contradictory to some of the listeners, and that is, Anton doesn't say this is get rich quick. There's none of that stuff. We're building a business. You're building a real business, selling real products to real customers. What I'm finding, and because I'm guilty of this in my earlier days of like, oh, look, I can do this or I can do that. And not that it's get rich quick, but it's like the idea of making that money sooner rather than later. And to be honest, everything I've ever done online just takes longer. Plain and simple. It is planting a seed and watering and letting it grow to a tree. If that's not, I kind of feel like if that's not something that you have time to do, then maybe you should pursue a different, something different. But there's definitely money to be made in this business model. And then I guess another thing, if people are distracted, we used to call it in the airlines, because people would want to get a new job at another airline, fly a bigger airplane. We call it the shiny jet syndrome, right? Yep. the internet space has the same thing. It's the shiny product syndrome. Like, Teespring's going to make me a bunch of money. Google AdWords Sense is going to make me a bunch of money. And the problem is, there's, innumerable amounts of things that will make you money online, except you have to pick one, and you have to focus, and you have to friggin' do it. Yeah. Plain and simple. And when you get distracted and you're trying to juggle a few things, I think that's where stuff goes south. So I was like, no, I'm all in with the drop shipping, and I'm not leaving until it works. And so, hence my 4 months of my first website building.
So, if you were going to start another store, how long do you think it would take you this time?
To be honest, maybe a week. Maybe
that's it.
Tops. Okay. Like at least for doing all of the IT stuff, domain, setting it up, configuring it, all that stuff. I don't think it would take that long at this point, because now that that's the nice thing about when you do something online. Once you have one, literally set up a second store. Screw it. Use the same theme. Use the same templates. Just put one store in one screen and one store in another screen, and just duplicate the settings and the colors, and screw it. Why do you got to do what?
One thing that actually people don't take advantage of enough is in Shopify you can export your theme.
Yeah.
And just re-upload it onto another store.
Exactly.
Obviously you're still gonna have to go in and change the text and everything, but yeah, I mean, like literally you can do it that much faster now. So, what do you think was the biggest roadblocks, from start to first sale?
That's a good question. Roadblocks were.
So I would say, for most people, it would either be even just deciding to get started, picking a niche, calling suppliers, or some kind of technical thing.
Each of them had their, I guess, delays. I'm not special, and I didn't not hit roadblocks, but I had done some niche research actually last summer.
Okay.
And then with part of our traveling, we were in Italy for 2 months, and there was just no time to watch the videos, and the internet didn't even work down there. We were in Sicily on a pistachio farm, and I couldn't get the internet to work. So I was like, screw it, I resign to the fact that I can't work on this right now. So those ideas had been in my mind, kind of like when you had done some research and over a course of 3 weeks before starting your site. So there was that. So it was kind of deciding just which one to pursue. Okay. I got no shortage of ideas. Yeah. I got this list in my computer. It's just, if I did every one of these, I would be at that, big, hairy, audacious goal in no time. And but anyway, so I never felt there was a shortage of ideas. There was a huge learning curve in some Shopify stuff, especially because, when we talk about some of these optimizations and doing some others, like tweaking your website, for me, I don't want to do the longhand route and edit 100 products. I want to edit the code and let it do it itself. Okay. So those are kind of some of the things that I happily wasted time on. Picking up the phone, I've never been in sales. I fly airplanes. I'm behind a closed, locked door all day long. I deal with customers. I deal with pissed off customers when the weather's bad and the flight's delayed. But I'm not making cold calls, and I'm not selling myself. So it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just something I had not experienced. And I wasn't afraid of it because I hadn't done it. I just didn't know what to expect. How, am I going to be in fumbling, bumbling boob on the phone, or am I going to be, no problem? I sat there, I had the scripts. I have some scripts from Anton, some scripts from the forum, and I kind of just meshed it together into something I was comfortable with, something that I could pitch. And I sat there in pun space, and I had the scripts right in front of me. And I just, I read them. And that's what I did. And then I shut up. And then, and you listen, and okay. And I think that, in all honesty, if there's one thing I feared was, are they going to ask me a question that I just have no idea what the answer is? No, never. It's well, not so far anyway. So I not like really huge obstacles other than just learning to do new things. And it takes me time on this first one, but
do you think, I know they're so unrelated, but do you think there was any skills that you've picked up from flying planes or being a pilot to the store now?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's, call it some degree being fearless. I'm up in the sky flying people around, and the atmosphere, like if you were up there at 40,000 feet, you couldn't breathe, So there's that level of risk that I'm used to on a daily basis, that at any moment the shit could hit the fan, and that's just there's nothing to be afraid about. Like, I'm sitting on the ground in front of a computer making a phone call. What's the worst could happen? You know what I'm saying? So there's that sort of that comfort with fear, that comfort with risk. Obviously that comfort talking to people, and I got to stand up in front of the airplane and tell 50 people that the flight's canceled or it's bad weather or something like that. So just sort of that comfort with people, that's a nice thing. And again, being a pilot, you have to make a lot of decisions, and you have to be able to make them quick based on the information that you're currently presented with. It's in aviation, it's not if you made the right decision or the wrong decision. You have to make a decision. Yeah. And then what happens from there, that's what happens from there. And you fix it, or if it's wrong, or you leave it if it's right. But you have to just make a decision and just do it. So those kinds of things have just, I guess, like I said, have just made me not be uncomfortable with doing stuff online. I just feel normal doing, calling these people and doing all this stuff. And I wasn't always like this, like I was, when I did my first blog, I was kind of scared out of my wits. Like, am I going to, I'm like always wondering if, stupid things like, I've never run a business before. Do I need an LLC? Am I going to get sued? All those things that you just worry about. And over the course of 7 or 8 years of doing stuff online and having a corporation, it's I want to say it's unfounded. Nothing bad has ever happened. It just hasn't. I think we sort of psych ourselves out and we fear things that aren't reality. And I can understand it because I used to be there. But after 8 years now, I'm like, screw it, let's do it. It's just go for it. The worst that could happen is somebody doesn't buy, or a supplier says no, or somebody wants a refund. Whoopity-doo. I didn't crash an airplane. I didn't die. There's not bodies hanging from trees.
I'm really glad. I think another thing that we could take away from it is, just like flying a plane, it's good to know how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But eventually you want to just put the autopilot on. And you want to just, be there to make sure nothing bad happens. Right. But, keep your hands off. And that should be the goal.
Yeah, and I think that's coming down the road after I do have the first sale. So now I get to learn. Actually, tonight in Thailand, I'll call the manufacturer, ask him about the stock supply, ask him a couple of questions the customer had, capture the funds, send them the order and all that stuff. So there's a new step involved here for me going forward. But again, that's kind of like essentially the last piece is once you get that order, learn the process, and then we're in New Zealand actually. I'm going to be doing some hiking. So we're going to be, I calculated like about 30 to 35 days where I might have no internet connection.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, but that's spread out over the course of a 2-month period. Okay, so it's not like from end to end, 3-4 days at a time, 5 days I'm back and plugged in, and then etc. But I'm like, this just feels like it's bad timing, But you got to learn how to do it because it's the lifestyle I want. Yeah. So I've actually got my mom, who does Google advertising for some clients, who is already going to be in front of the computer for a couple hours a day. So I'm like, and my parents own a restaurant, so they deal with customers. My dad's in sales. It's like, this is a no-brainer, For a couple days a week, every other week, they can have a look at it and watch over things. So, but beyond that, the extra sales will lead me to be able to do the virtual assistant type of, have somebody more dedicated to pick up the phone, reply to the email, and just log in every day and have that 20,000-foot overview and see what's going on. Step out of the business to manage the business.
All right. Well, wish you the best of luck with more sales.
Thank you.
I'll be following your progress on Anton's forums.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, and definitely, I think everyone on there is kind of cheering for you as well. Because
yeah.
I remember when I first read your, from airline captain to dropshipper progress then journey, I was secretly kind of just rooting for you. And that's why when you messaged me the other day and said that you're in Chiang Mai, you're leaving soon, and you wanted me to take a look at your site, I was happy to.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and especially all the people in the forums that are, of all the things that I've got from this course, the forums is the most valuable aspect by and large, just because people on there are of all varieties of backgrounds and experience, especially in e-commerce. And without that forum and without Anton's email support and being able to get questions answered, it just would have been way more confusing and way more difficult. And so I appreciate you answering my questions, every now and then at Pun Space, and then visiting with me yesterday for an hour. I'm excited to get that second sale. If I would have been, I'm like looking at my phone going, I wish it would happen while we're on the podcast. But anyway.
We'll check back in with you and see how that goes.
See how that's going, yeah.
All right, Len. Well, have fun in New Zealand. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Fly safely.
Thanks.
See you guys. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.